is advised.
Hey everyone, welcome to the discussion for Detective and Modern Crime Board Game Season 1. So, with that tagline, Season 1, I'm very much hoping that they do more seasons.
Right.
I love this game. It is so much fun. Just the in-depth writing, the atmosphere that they give for each of the cases. Yeah, you can definitely go check out our discussion for whenever we did Detective Modern Crime Board Game the first time. But here we're going to be talking about Season 1. So, Kat, what did you think?
I really liked it. I
Cool.
thought it was really enjoyable. I actually can't really remember what the first one was about now that I'm thinking about it.
It was about... Yep, you're right, because
I really actually liked the last two.
Natural Causes. That one was about the... Yep, that did not open up anything about that. Wow. Oh, yeah, the professor.
That's right, yeah, that one was okay.
Yeah.
The other two, really liked.
Mm-hmm.
Stories were good. The clues could be better sometimes.
Yeah.
In how we get to them. But, I mean, all in all, it's just a lot of fun.
Right. I think it's just these games in general, they don't, there's never a point where it's like definitive on like, okay, yes, now we know, who it is or what the weapon was,
right.
It's always our speculation, and there's times at the end of the case when they do like the epilogue thing where it's like where it tells you the story and it gives you the whole rundown. And then you're like, oh, okay, yeah, now it's so obvious. But throughout the game, you always have an air of like,
what is it?
I don't really know, because you don't know how in depth the writers wanted to go.
Right.
And there might be some spoilers for the record of this, but before we get to those, in a nutshell, this season 1 was fantastic.
Yeah.
Like Kat said, the first one was okay, was pretty good. But yeah, the second case and the third case were extremely solid.
Yeah, second case is my favorite.
Yeah, I was actually going to ask which case was your favorite, and I would agree. I think the second case was mine because it was just so different from the other ones.
Yeah.
But yeah, so season 1 was fantastic. I really hope that they just continue to support this game over and over and over, and it sounds like they are. This is one of their high tier games where they're doing like what do they call it? Like a signature series where they have a specific person write a case. And they've done one of those where they had Rob Davio, who was one of the guys behind, I want to say Pandemic Legacy.
Okay.
And things. So he did one case. So they're doing more, and there's another one coming out next year.
That's very cool. And that's the best thing about crime is you can just do it over and over and over and over.
Right. But yeah, so...
Because there's a lot of crime out there.
And there's a lot of stories you can make. But yeah, that's what I was saying. Is like, you never know how in-depth they want to get. So for like the third one, where they... where it was about the mafias, the two mafia groups really, with, Jimmy and then Troco.
Yeah.
And it was like, we were sitting there and we're like, man, okay, all the cards, there's so many cards that are saying, that are proving that Jimmy is innocent. So this is where the spoilers, I guess, are coming in, kind of. And it's like, you don't know if the writer really wants it to go one way, and it's like, okay, so, like, it's going to make it seem like that it was Jimmy's group. And then all the cards are saying that he's innocent, so then you want to believe that he's innocent, but then it's a hook, and it's actually really them planning the...
Right.
So you don't ever really know how the writing is going to be, if it's going to go that in-depth, or if you're going to be like, oh, okay.
Well, like how I said with the wine, I was like, well, was there a lipstick on one of them?
Right.
Like, are they going to call that, like, are they going to assume that she wears lipstick? Is it accurate to her picture? Like, obviously she's wearing makeup.
Yeah.
So, is that going to be something that they're like, oh, and an imprint of a...
Right, and usually they will say stuff like that. And don't get me wrong, these games are very in-depth, especially with the on-tear system, where you get fingerprints. You probably, if there was lipstick, that probably would have been mentioned.
Right.
And it's like, oh, okay, but then we have the timing, and so you do have to take a lot of things into account, especially in one of these cases, it mentioned the height and the build of someone.
Yeah.
And you have to remember that stuff. It mentioned the timing of a package and then the timing of the murder, and you have to take that stuff into account.
Yeah.
Where other games like Sherlock Holmes, for example, you don't.
Yeah.
Like, not really. But here you very much, and these games are so brain-burny.
They definitely can be. When they're like the very first one where you really have to you have to pay attention with that one.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I think the problem with the first one is we just took it in a totally different direction.
Right.
Just so completely left field.
Right. And that's the other thing that with these games is they have so many different leads that you're like, well, which one should we go to? You know for a fact, especially with the travel time, you have to sit there and be like, okay, well, we have 24 hours, but really it depends on how many times we're moving. And luckily, like the final case where you do have all the time, 24 hours, you're really in 2 locations. You were in the field and then police station. So you actually were able to manage and get a lot of cards. Where otherwise, where it's like, oh no, we need to go to the campus, into the headquarters, into the police station, and go back and forth. And your 24 hours is actually really 10. And then even then, it's like, okay, well, let's look at this card. Oh, that took 3 hours. So now you really only have 7 hours.
Yeah.
They didn't do that here, which was really good.
Yeah.
Like, you only went back and forth. So as you're playing, you do have to take in time of your time management. Okay, we have 5 leads we can do in the field. So let's spend the 1 hour, go to the field, and then do all these 5, And it's just you do this as a team to decide what does each person think is really the most, efficient way to actually play this game.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to say something else.
I am. Oh. But I want to go back because I didn't get to say it because you went off on the time tangent. No, the time is really important, but I was just going to say how this game is really good at mimicking real life because, like how with the first one, we kind of just went off on just a completely different direction that we went to. But that happens in real life all the time where the cops see a lead and they misinterpret it. And so they're chasing, one thing when they should really be chasing the other. And by the time that they do, it's like, oh, well, this guy got away with murder because we thought it had something to do with whatever.
Yeah, because we went way off on gambling and then stuff like that. And then we come to the final questionnaire and then it's like, one of the suspects, we were like, there's no way.
Yeah, because we were like, nope.
Yeah, because we found something, we're like, no. Because these games always include, additional questions and things where it's like, okay, so that might not be part of the case, but that might be extra points.
Right.
And I really think that this game does a fantastic job about, whether the case is solved or failed. And I love that because in Sherlock, or Mythos Tales, it's based off a score. Okay, answer all these questions, you get a score of 0 to 100. Here, it's like, for example, the third one, the last one we did.
Yeah.
It was like, we solved it, but we got 6 out of 12 points. And the points are kind of more of just a status, because we did solve it.
Just to see how well you did. Yeah.
Right. But in Sherlock Holmes, it's like, okay, here's 5 of the main questions, but there's 5 additional ones that really have nothing to do with the main case, but you can hopefully just scour.
They're your bonus points.
Yeah. And I think that this game kind of does away with that, because the additional questions in here do pertain to the actual case.
Yeah.
And I like that. I really think that there aren't really any red herrings.
Right.
Whereas there are red herrings in the written ones. So
I would say the only the real heavy red herrings was in the, again, spoilers, is in the second game, because
you're right.
Literally everyone, and that one was very much a movie style.
It was a whodunit.
Because everyone, it's like, oh, they all could have. Everyone
has a motive, and that one was an interesting one because we had all this evidence. I took notes of the family, you took notes of the guests and suspects. So we both split, divide and conquered. And then we go to the question, and then I was like, okay, who do we think did it? All right, this person. And it's like, oh, you solved it.
Yeah.
And we're like, oh, I expected there to be way more questions, but nope, it was just one person.
Right.
And that one did such a good job with the whodunit feeling.
The theme, the suspects, the atmosphere.
Yeah,
was just there.
The motives, and then you were like, oh man, I don't know, everyone seems to have a problem, but this one seems to make the most sense based off of just information that wasn't directly told. There's never a point here where it says on the bulletin, hey, this person is really strong. or something, like, for you to take note of.
It's all gossip. It's all hearsay.
Yeah.
And that's why I wanted to talk to, the staff first, because it's like, they're going to spill the shit. Like, they're absolutely going to.
And the staff didn't tell us anything.
I know, right? I was like, wait.
It's all family. Like, it's like, man, this family fucking sucks.
It wound up being family drama, but, like, everyone had something to say at one point. Literal, big or small.
Yeah. They had personalities.
Yes.
And you're like...
Sam, I fucking loved talking to him last, because his was just such, like, a...
It's like, man, you're a
what
loser.
The fuck?
Yeah, and then you read into more about, like, the dad, and you're like, man, I'm glad you died, you piece of shit.
I would have killed you, too. No.
So, I think and you probably agree with me, in terms of the 3 cases, it'd be favorite 2, then 3, then 1.
I do agree with that. Yep.
Even though 3 was really good.
3 was still really good.
Because you had the atmosphere of the Italian mob, and then trying to go, and then you were like, oh.
Well, yeah, how could I not? They were constantly throwing out words like Bambino.
Right, and grazie, and merde.
Me amor.
But yeah, and so with the third one, you just had that back and forth, and I think actually the third one probably had the most aha. Like, especially whenever we got to, like, the very end, where we talked to one person at the very last minute, and then we did one more final dive, and it was like, oh, okay, so that confirms it. And I think that air of, like, well, I don't really know, it is there, but with all the cases, they're written out so well that I think it, over time, if you're playing well, of course, and you take the time to really study, that gets alleviated throughout the game. Because at the end, we were pretty much like, yes, this is the person who did it. Like, which I absolutely love. The natural causes one, the very first one, I think if that was a regular case in the base game, it would have been fine, but it was so overshadowed by how well the last 2 were.
Yeah.
Because we're sitting here and we're taught raving about this case 2 and case 3, and we're like, what the fuck?
And we forgot what
case 1 was. And I was like, what was case 1 about? Oh, was it okay? So a guy died, and how? Yeah. And yeah, it just didn't hold on to that. Like, oh, this was a really good story. It almost felt like a filler.
Yeah, right.
But I very much enjoyed that there were 3 of them. I think that their use of these tokens was nice. Because in the base game, you have different types of tokens. And I just feel like that's a little convoluted for this kind of game. Because it's like, oh, to do this, we have to have this token. And to do this, we have this token. Whereas just in here, you just had these. Yeah. And these let you do more. And I just like the simplicity of these instead of the different tokens.
Yeah, and getting like those yellow ones in the third game, for example, I feel like we would not have gotten those if we interrogated Jimmy. Because I was like, no, I don't think that's... And you agreed, like, I don't think that's necessary. Like, we don't need to play hardball with him because we don't think he did it. Like, we as cops did not think he did it. So he was probably able to actually give us favor. Right. And be like, okay, I know that you're not, like, you don't think I did it, so I'm going to do you a solid. Yeah. I'm going to help clear my name.
Right. And, I mean, those yellow tokens were really cool because they actually represented kind of choices that you have. Where it's like, okay, if we do this, then we might have access to something else later. Otherwise, that we would have missed. It opens up new dialogue. And it did, and I thought that was really cool versus just constantly relying on these. It was an extra, like, ooh, okay, well, let's get the warrant. It
was a reward for doing certain things.
Now, what this doesn't do, it doesn't utilize the website as much, and I know you don't mess with the website. But here, you essentially, like, it didn't do the questioning. Everything's card based, and I understand that this is basically kind of like an intro to detective, because I think the detective ones are way more in depth. These were still very heavy, but you feel, and it gives you that satisfaction at the end, which is great. But the ones in the base game, you have to use the internet. You have to look up shit that you don't know anything about, like the very first one, which I'm not going to spoil anything for that, but.
You're allowed to use your cell phone.
You're allowed to use your cell phone. You do have the questioning. Then you do have to actually match fingerprints and DNA. and gather stuff. Here you do put that stuff in, but it's more of like I said, an intro. Like, oh, hey, here's kind of what you can do. But there was never, unless we missed it completely, but there was never really any matching where it's like, oh, boom, okay, we found the gun and the bullet and, put in the match and then they match and it tells us who has it. There's none of that. But I think this does a pretty good job of kind of leading you into the base game. I think that you could play this and you actually only need this, which is great. You can just buy this box by itself and then just be like, oh, okay, now I understand how the game's going to work, so now I can go play the base game.
Yeah.
Let's see. One complaint that I have, and it's mainly it's kind of with all of them, except Sherlock, funny enough, and I understand it's thematic, but because these games, and I mentioned this actually in the Mythos Tales discussion, because Mythos Tales has a timer just like this.
Expect me to solve the case.
Well, it's not so much that, it's the fact that since these are one-time play, if you are, like we did on the very first one, if you're going left when they want you to go right, and you run out of time and you're technically supposed to do the final report, you didn't really get to experience the story.
Right.
And I think that was our problem with the first one, is we didn't really get to experience the story too much because we ran out of time. And it's like, okay, because moving locations cost time. You don't know how long, okay, we're going to go to the police station to search the evidence room. Oh, that took 6 hours.
Right.
And I very much get that that's thematic, and that does give you an air of like, we need to really make good decisions here. But in terms of the meta, owning the game, it could be a little upsetting whenever you're like, man, we didn't get any of that right. All right, I guess we'll learn the story and just read the epilogue, you know.
Right, and especially when it's like, fuck, we wouldn't have gotten that no matter what. Like, that is such, like, to us, it's a left field because we thought we were on the right track. Like,
right.
And then to be like, okay, so we were supposed to put together that he was an art connoisseur. And so that means he's the art thief. Like,
right. Okay, so that means that this person was blackmailing this person because of that.
I don't make those. To me, that's a kind of a leap. That's something that you would see in, like, a TV show. Yeah. And I definitely do not think that way. So.
Yeah, so I think that...
I am more the whodunit kind of.
Right. Yeah. Or the... I think it comes down to the writer that makes you not feel that way. I think the first case was... I don't think it was badly written. I just think that it didn't point you in the right direction as much to make you feel satisfied at the end. Whereas the second one and the third one very much did. And I don't know if they're the same writer. I mean, this book actually has some inside depth on...
Honestly,
who wrote it.
If I was able to solve, like, out of just my own intelligence, like, pick up on all those clues from Case 1, I would put that on my gravestone. I would be like, solved Case 1, Season 1 of Detective. Just to let everyone know. Because it's that much of like a, holy shit, she did.
Wow, she did it. But yeah, so it's really the job of the writers for even, Chronicles of Crime, Sherlock Holmes, all of these kinds of games to give you basically the air of free will. We can go anywhere, but we should be going in the right direction to experience the story that I'm sure the writer wants us, because it's hard work. All this is hard work to make it all cohesive. So if you're like way on left field, not even it's right, then probably something in the writing made you believe something else. Like, and I think that's more prominent in Case 1, where the person, the suspect, we just never we blew it up. Like, no, there's no way.
And I will say, the only thing that could have helped us if we had just really like thought about it was I said, oh, like this kind of thing, like the bee, whatever. I was like, this is perfect because they keep it in a lab. And then I was like, anyway,
that's stupid. And there are times that we've played games like this where. I think our friend Josh made some. He's like, oh, it's this guy.
Yeah.
And we're like, yeah, right, idiot. And then we come to it, and I was like, oh my god, he was right.
How'd you know?
So, I mean, these games are a lot of fun. But if you are one of those people that wants to be here for the story and you don't get it, you don't get to experience it, then that can be a little disheartening.
Yeah.
Luckily, though, if you fail it, you're like, oh man, where'd we miss it? And you read the epilogue, then at least it tells you the whole story.
That always,
So you do still get it. It's not just like, oh, I guess you'll never know.
Yeah, it's like, but how did you come to this conclusion? Like, what did we miss? Like, what went wrong?
Like, kind of like what Sherlock Holmes does. Sherlock Holmes doesn't give you a time limit, which is probably one of the benefits to that, is it's you decide as players when you want to quit. But you do have a timer. It's just more like, well, we've taken 70 leads.
Yeah.
And Sherlock did 3.
You have a consequence.
So we have negative 800 points. But yeah, because you want to get a good score.
Yeah.
But other than that, I think that this season 1 box is fantastic. I love these pictures.
Yeah.
Because I tried to organize them based on how they were connected.
Yeah.
Like, okay, so this is the guy, this is his son, that's his boyfriend. I guess that's the Godfather. No, that was I don't know who that was.
No, I think that was...
Yeah, that was one of the sports guy. But then that's the murderer, then there's his wife, so they're connected somehow. Then I kept these 3. So
and that's his wife, so they're connected somehow. I don't know how they would be.
I don't know how they're connected. But yeah, so those are always fun. This is one of those games that you can really get a corkboard or a whiteboard, wheel it in, and then take notes, because you have 4 or 5 pages of notes.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite things about these games is I do like taking notes, and just drawing silly things is unfortunately part of that.
And going back, and you have all the information in a digestible way. Yeah. But I also love this card system where you can sit there and be like, okay, so where did we go? Oh, we talked to him right here, and then you can go back and read
check
the card.
and see and make sure we didn't miss anything.
And with these, we can compare the articles or something like that.
Yeah.
So, all right. So on a scale of 1 to 10, what would you rate each case?
Each case, I will say, I'll just give it a plain Jane 5 for case 1.
Okay.
It gives you a nice little introduction.
Gives you a little taste.
Yes, essentially it does. It just gives you a little snacky snack about what you're gonna get. To me, it just wasn't that interesting. I'm sure to other people, though, they're like, "Well, that was really cool," but that's just not me. Case number 2, I'm gonna give a dang old 9.
9.
Because how freaking fun.
Yeah.
Was that because everyone had a reason to kill that guy. He was a piece of shit. I remember writing it down. I was like, deserved to die?
In case 2, you had it was more unique because it was like, hey, there's no locations. Yeah. Every card takes an hour. And I'm like, oh, no locations? And then I read I'm like, oh, you're in one location the whole time.
Yeah. And because I was thinking about this while I was making my coffee upstairs, I was like, it was not an act of if he was gonna die that night, it was when and by who.
Yeah.
He was going to die that night. Someone was gonna kill him.
Yeah.
So I think that one was just a really good. It really put me in that movie mindset of watching Knives Out, watching these the family bicker. The staff is just like, oh my fucking god.
God,
putting together because I remember when we first put 2 and 2 together that the conservator was his child.
Right.
And we were like, what?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Oh man. And then we never thought that she had a motive, and I was like, okay, so she just has a gun. Who cares? Yeah.
I was just like, oh yeah, she just wants to protect herself.
Yeah, that totally makes sense.
Yeah. So that one to me just just really set the mood with the thunderstorm. It's a dark, stormy night. You can't get out. You have.
There's no cell service. Yeah.
Yeah. I thought that one was really awesome. And then for case 3, I'll give it an 8 because it was still really cool. There was a lot to put together that we had those aha moments you said. And really solid because at one point we were like, oh man, they could be trying to flip it on us and be like, oh my god, this is a whole this is a setup for a setup, kind of thing. At
some point you're sitting I was sitting there and I'm like, no, the writer's not that good. There's no way they did a double setup where it's like, aha, you thought it was them, but it really wasn't. It's like, no, there's no way.
That'll be in the heist episode.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So 5, 9, 8.
I completely agree. I would give those same scores to the same cases. 5, or the first one's not bad. It's just even whenever we did read it, it's like, oh okay, that cool. That was that.
Right.
And in case 2, everything you said I mirror. And in case 3, was also really good. But yeah. So these were awesome. So overall, the whole thing, I'd probably give it like an 8. Like the whole
Yeah.
the whole season. I know technically you would just average that out, and that would be it'd be a 7.5, but I'm gonna bump it
Pretty
up.
much an 8.
Yeah, pretty
We
much an
round
8.
up.
But I still very much enjoy the process of Case 1 instead of I just didn't care for the story as much.
Right.
So that's our thoughts on Detective and Modern Crime Board Games Season 1. Ignacy and Portal Games keep making these seasons, these cases. I just love these. I want them to support this for quite some time.
Please do a heist episode.
Because that's the thing is Chronicles of Crime just released. They're about to release 3 expansions on top of what they already have. Sherlock Holmes has 4 boxes with 10 cases each, so that's 40 cases. And I think at this point, since they made the website, it probably, all their videos, it's not like they're embedding into the website. It's a link. It's a YouTube link, and I know actually how to make that myself. So it's probably not that difficult. It was difficult to probably make the website, but now they can just put it all in here. I didn't get to review the Dig Deeper with Rob Davio, but that one was really good too. So their signature series I loved. I keep making seasons, making expansions. They have an LA Crimes thing. Oh, yeah. They even have free cases, so they can just keep supporting this as life goes on. So, you have anything else?
No.
Cool.
No.
So that's our thoughts on Detective and Modern Crime Board Game Season 1. Let us know what you think of the game in the comments below. Other than that, like, comment, share, and subscribe, and have a wonderful whatever time of day it is for you. Hey everyone, thank you for watching, and I really hope that you enjoyed the video. If you would like to see more of my content, go ahead and click that subscribe button and the bell to be notified whenever I upload any new content. If you feel like supporting the channel, you can go ahead and click that Patreon link to be taken to my Patreon, and any help is truly appreciated. Other than that, stick around for any other run-throughs or reviews or cool top 10s or whatever I feel like putting on. Other than that, like, comment, share, and subscribe, and have a wonderful whatever time of day it is for you.